The lights on the research station flickered one last time before going dark. Mingy Park stood alone at the observation window, watching the massive alien warship approach. The wrecked ship was 10 times larger than Horizon's Edge, its black hull covered in sharp angles and glowing red lights. She could hear the sound of metal scraping against metal as the enemy vessel forced its way into the docking port. Mingy was 28 years old and had seen combat before, and never like this. The Vreks were not just another alien species. They were conquerors, feared across 3 star systems. Their empire had crushed dozens of civilizations. Now they wanted Earth. She checked her suit one last time. No weapons. The station's armory was on the other side, blocked by fire and sealed doors. All she had was her training and her hands. In Seoul's underground fighting circuits, that had been enough. She hoped it would be enough today. The door exploded inward. 20 Vreks warriors stormed through the smoke, their plasma rifles raised. Each alien stood 8 feet tall, covered in thick bioarmor that made them look like walking tanks. They had 4 arms, scaled skin, and eyes that glowed yellow in the darkness. They moved in perfect formation, like soldiers who had never lost a battle. The largest Vrek stepped forward. His armor was decorated with symbols that Mingy recognized from intelligence briefings. This was Commander Taurix, leader of the Vreks assault forces. His translator implant clicked and buzzed before speaking in broken English. "Human soldier, you are surrounded. Your station belongs to the Vreks Empire now. Submit or die." Mingy slowly raised her hands, palms open, a small smile on her face. She saw the Vreks warriors relax slightly. They thought she was surrendering. That was good. Let them think that. Taurix's mandibles clicked together in what might have been satisfaction. He turned to his nearest warrior and gave a command. "Disarm her." The Vreks warrior approached, reaching for Mingy's suit with one of his 4 hands. He was looking for weapons. He would not find any. That was his first mistake. Mingy moved. Her raised hands were not a sign of surrender. They were targeting markers. In 2.3 seconds, she showed the Vreks why humans were the most dangerous species in close combat. She grabbed the reaching warrior's arm and used his own momentum against him. The Vreks was strong, but he expected resistance, not redirection. He stumbled forward, crashing into the warrior behind him. Both aliens went down in a tangle of armor and limbs, before the others could react. Mingy activated the magnetic grips in her boots. The station's gravity was failing, and she was ready for it. The Vreks were not. She anchored herself to the floor while the aliens began to float. A plasma rifle drifted past her. Mingy snatched it from the air. She did not fire it. Plasma weapons were unpredictable in zero gravity. Instead, she swung it like a club, smashing it into the nearest Vreks warrior's helmet. The impact cracked the seal, and the warrior's breathing system failed. He clawed at his throat, gasping. Taurix roared orders in his own language. The Vreks were confused. They had conquered hundreds of worlds, fought thousands of battles, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Their armor was designed to stop bullets and plasma. It was not designed to stop a human who used everything as a weapon. Mingy struck at joints and seals, the weak points in Vreks' armor. She kicked off walls and used the zero gravity to attack from unexpected angles. A warrior grabbed for her, and she twisted his arm until something cracked inside the bioarmor. Another tried to tackle her, and she used his mask to throw him into a control panel. Sparks flew, and the lights went completely dark. In the darkness, Mingy had the advantage. She had trained for combat in every environment. The Vreks had not. She could hear them calling to each other, their voices filled with something she had never heard from the proud conquerors before: fear. Emergency lights flickered on. Mingy counted 7 Vreks warriors floating unconscious or disabled. The remaining 13 had pulled back, their rifles trained on her but keeping their distance. They were learning. Taurix stepped forward again, but this time he was cautious. He spoke a command, and his warriors produced nets made of energy. These would work in zero gravity. Mingy prepared to dodge, but there were too many angles. The nets came from all sides. The energy wrapped around her, and she felt her muscles lock. The Vreks had finally adapted. It had taken them longer than she expected. That was useful information. Talrix approached slowly, studying her. Minji could see confusion in his yellow eyes. She was bloodied, bruised, and captured, but she was smiling. "Impressive," the commander said through his translator. "You fight well for a primitive, but you are still one human against the Vrex Empire. Tell me, why does your species think you can challenge us?" The Vrex warriors dragged her toward their ship. The energy net made it impossible to move, but Minji could still talk. She looked directly at Talrix and spoke clearly. "You just made your first mistake. Wait until you meet the rest of us." Rex's mandibles clicked, but this time not in satisfaction. Minji saw it in his eyes. He was wondering what she meant. Good. Let him wonder. Let him worry. That was the beginning of doubt. Doubt was a weapon sharper than any blade. As they pulled her into the darkness of the Vrex warship, Mingi kept smiling. She had learned what she needed to know. The Vrex were strong and well-armed, but they followed predictable patterns. They expected enemies to fight with honor and technology. They did not understand that humans fought with everything. Their bodies, their minds, the environment, even the enemy's own assumptions. Behind her, Horizon's edge burned. Minji did not look back. She was already planning her next move. The interrogation chamber was cold and dark. Minji hung in a restraint field, her arms and legs held by invisible forces. The Vrex called this room the breaking point. Every prisoner they brought here eventually gave them what they wanted: information, surrender, or screams of terror. Commander Talrix stood before her with his intelligence officer, Commander Krell. The smaller alien carried devices that looked like neural probes. Minji recognized them from training videos. They were supposed to read thoughts and cause pain, Human Talrix began. "You will tell us the location of your fleet. You will tell us your defensive codes. You will tell us everything." And Minji said nothing. She was studying the room instead. The walls were lined with technology she did not recognize. But technology always had patterns, weaknesses. She just needed time to find them. Krell attached the neural probe to her temple. Minji felt a sharp pain, then a strange buzzing sensation. The probe was trying to read her thoughts, to dig through her memories. But something was wrong. The Vrex officer frowned and adjusted the device. "The probe is malfunctioning," Krell said. "Her neural patterns are changing too quickly." Talrix leaned closer. "What trick is this?" Minji smiled. "No trick. That's just how human brains work. We adapt. Our world changed constantly, so we learn to change with it. Your probe can't keep up." It was true. Earth was a death world compared to most planets. Ice ages, floods, droughts, predators everywhere. Humans evolved to survive constant change. Their brains rewired themselves under stress. The Verks had evolved on a stable world. Their technology assumed stable targets. Frustrated, Talrix ordered physical interrogation. Guards struck her with shock batons. The pain was real and intense, but Minji had trained for this. She used meditation techniques to separate her mind from her body. While she hurt, she also continued studying the room, counting guards, noting equipment. Every question the Vrex asked revealed something. When Talrix asked about fleet positions, she learned they did not have good intelligence. When he asked about Earth's defenses, she learned they feared orbital platforms. When he grew angry and mentioned the Vrex Council, she learned their command structure had politics and divisions. Hours passed. The Vrex were getting nowhere. Talrix decided to try something else. He had guards bring in another prisoner. Jonesho Lee stumbled into the room, pushed by two Vrex warriors. He was a thin man in his 30s, wearing a torn science uniform. His glasses were cracked, and he looked terrified. Mingi recognized him from the station roster. Xenobiologist, civilian. "Please," Junho begged in a shaking voice. "Please don't hurt me." "I'll tell you anything you want," Talrix turned to Mingi. "Watch what happens to those who do not cooperate." He raised a clawed hand toward Junho. But Mingi noticed something. As Junho cowered, his hand moved in a specific pattern. Tap, tap, pause, tap. Military code. Basic stuff taught in training. The message was simple. Playing along. Trust me. Junho was not a coward. He was gathering intelligence while pretending to cooperate. Smart Minji played her part. Leave him alone. He's just a scientist. Talrix seemed satisfied. He ordered Junho taken on a tour of the ship, supposedly to show him the power of the Vrex Empire and break his spirit further. But Mingi knew better. Junho would use that tour to map the ship's layout. After Junho left, the interrogation continued. Minji gave false information mixed with obvious lies. She wanted to see how the Vrex checked facts. She learned they had slow communication with their fleet. She learned they trusted their computers too much. She learned they had never fought an enemy who lied creatively. Talrix grew more frustrated. In his anger, he made mistakes. He boasted about Vrex victories, revealing tactical preferences. He mentioned how the Empire had never lost a prolonged war, which told Minji they had no experience with attrition warfare. He described how Vrex honor demanded direct combat, which meant they did not understand guerrilla tactics. Your Earth will fall in days, Talrix said. Our fleet is unstoppable. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Your small ships cannot match our firepower. This war is already over. Why am I Mayana? Why am I San? Why am I? Why am I? Why am Graf Bara? It was genuine laughter, which seemed to disturb the Vrex more than any threat. Talrix stepped back slightly. Why do you laugh? He demanded. 'Cause you really don't understand, Mingi said. You think war is about firepower and shields? You think it's about technology and strength? You've never fought someone who doesn't care about those things. Explain, Talrix commanded. Humans don't fight to win cleanly. We fight because we're too stubborn to lose. We'll use every dirty trick we can think of. We'll turn your own weapons against you. We'll make you paranoid. We'll make you afraid of shadows. And we won't stop until you leave, or we're all dead. Later, Junho returned from his tour. The guards threw him back into a cell near the interrogation room. Through the wall, Junho tapped out another message. He had memorized the ship's layout. He had identified the reactor cooling system. He had discovered a critical weakness. Vrex bioarmor relied on temperature regulation. Rapid temperature changes caused system failures. It was a small flaw, but humans were experts at exploiting small flaws. News arrived that changed everything. A Vrex officer rushed into the interrogation chamber and spoke urgently to Talrix in their language. Minji could not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Panic. Talrix turned to her. Your species has destroyed 2 of our outposts using dishonorable tactics. They rammed damaged ships into our stations. They pretended to surrender, then attacked. They used mines disguised as debris. This is not civilized warfare. Mingi smiled wider. I told you. We don't fight fair. Talrix made a decision. He would execute Minji publicly and broadcast it to human channels. It would be a warning. A demonstration of Vrex power. He ordered guards to prepare the execution chamber as they dragged Minji down the corridor. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed. Vrex warriors rushed to battle stations. Talrix demanded a report. A human ship has dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above us, an officer reported. It is heavily damaged. Designation: Indomitable. A voice crackled over the communication system. It spoke in clear English, translated instantly by Vrex computers. This is Commander Hyein Kim, of the Earth Defense Forces. You have one of our people. Release Lieutenant Park immediately, or I will show you why humans don't negotiate with kidnappers. You have 60 seconds. Talrix looked at the tactical display. One small, damaged frigate against his massive dreadnought. He laughed. Humans are fools. Destroy that ship. But Minji was not laughing. She knew Hyen Kim's reputation. The man never bluffed. The countdown began. 60 seconds. Talrix refused to respond to the human demand. His tactical officers assured him that one frigate could not threaten a Vrex dreadnought. The Desolation's hammer had shields that could withstand 100 missiles. It had weapons that could vaporize a city. One damaged human ship was nothing. Minji counted the seconds in her head. She knew Hyen would not waste time with empty threats. 50 seconds. 40. 30. At 15 seconds, Talrix opened a channel. Human commander, your threats are meaningless. Surrender your ship, or be destroyed. Hyen's response was immediate. Time's up. The Indomitable did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, the frigate released hundreds of small objects. They looked like mines, but they did something different. Each device was a cryothermal bomb, designed to rapidly heat and then flash freeze whatever it touched. The devices attached to the Vrex ship's hull. Explosions of extreme heat followed by instant cold rippled across the dreadnought's surface. The temperature shock spread through the ship's systems like a virus. Junho's intelligence had been correct. Vrex bioarmor throughout the ship began to malfunction. Power fluctuated. Shield generators went offline in sections. Artificial gravity failed in multiple compartments. Warriors floated helplessly, their armor systems shutting down one by one. Chaos erupted. The Vrex had evolved on a stable world with predictable weather. Their technology assumed stable conditions. When systems failed, they panicked. Humans, who grew up fixing broken equipment and adapting to malfunctions, would have stayed calm. The Vrex did not. In the confusion, Minji's restraint field flickered. She pushed against it, using the electromagnetic interference from the failing systems. The field collapsed. She was free. The guards were too busy trying to restore their armor systems to notice. Mingi moved quickly through the darkened corridors. Emergency lights cast red shadows. Vrex warriors stumbled past her, their malfunctioning armor making them clumsy. She found Junho in his cell. The locks had failed with everything else. He was already free, holding a small data pad he had stolen during his tour. I mapped the route to the docking bay, Junho said. He was not stuttering anymore. His coward act was gone. But we need to get past the armory. I know where the weapons are stored. They moved together through the ship. Minji led, using her combat training to clear corners and avoid patrols. Yunho followed, using his knowledge of Vrex anatomy to point out weak spots when they had to fight. The neural cluster is behind the third shoulder, he would whisper. Strike there, and their left side goes numb. Or, pressure point in the lower abdomen. 2 inches left of center, they fold instantly. Mingi disabled 5 more warriors this way. The Vrex had never fought humans who understood their biology. Most species saw the thick armor and gave up looking for weaknesses. Humans looked harder. Meanwhile, Hyen kept the Vrex distracted. His voice broadcast over every channel, taunting them in broken Vrex language that he had clearly learned just for this purpose. Is this the mighty Vrex Empire? You cannot even catch 2 humans on your own ship. Perhaps you should surrender to us instead. And it worked. Talrix was furious and diverted warriors to find the humans instead of repairing systems. Another mistake. Mingi and Gunho reached the armory. The doors were sealed, but Junho had studied Vrex technology. He used a maintenance panel to override the locks. Inside, they found weapons, but Minji took something different. A length of metal conduit, some wire, and a container of coolant. You're not taking a plasma rifle? Junho asked. Those are designed for Vrex hands. They won't work as well for me. This will. She fashioned the conduit into a simple staff. The wire became triplins. The coolant would make the floor slippery. They continued toward the docking bay, leaving traps behind them. Vrex warriors chased, but they kept slipping, tripping, falling into Minji's ambushes. Every corridor became a battlefield, where human creativity defeated alien strength. The docking bay door appeared ahead. Beyond it, Minji could see a human shuttle waiting. Haiyan had positioned it perfectly, but Talrix stood between them and freedom. The Vrex commander had manually recalibrated his bioarmor. It no longer responded to temperature changes. He held a massive blade in two hands and a plasma pistol in another. His fourth hand gripped a communication device. "You cannot escape," Talrix said. "Even if you reach your ship, my fleet will destroy it before you can jump to faster-than-light travel. Surrender now, and I will grant quick deaths." Minji stepped forward, her improvised staff in hand. "You still don't understand. Let me explain something about humans. We don't believe in rules. We don't believe in honor. We believe in winning." She pulled out a small device from her suit. Throughout her captivity, she had been using passive sensors to map the ship's internal structure. Junho had helped her identify critical systems. This beacon would transmit exact coordinates to the Indomitable. She activated it. Haiyan received the signal. His tactical officer calculated the shot. It was impossible, firing through a ship's hull to hit a specific internal system without killing the people inside. But humans specialized in impossible shots. The Indomitable fired a precise beam weapon. It pierced through the Dreadnought's armor, through 7 decks, and struck exactly what Minji had marked. The reactor cooling system. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Talrix's communication device erupted with panicked reports. The reactor would go critical in 10 minutes. The entire ship would explode. Talrix faced an impossible choice: chase Mingi or save his crew. A human would have chosen revenge even at the cost of their own life. But the Vrex valued preservation of their forces. Talrix chose to evacuate. "We'll meet again, human," he promised, then rushed toward the escape pods. Mingi and Yunho ran for the shuttle. They boarded and sealed the hatch. The small craft launched, weaving through the chaos of evacuating Vrex ships. The Indomitable provided covering fire, its weapons picking off any Vrex vessel that tried to intercept. They docked with the Indomitable, just as the Vrex dreadnought exploded behind them. The fireball lit up the darkness of space like a small sun. Haiyan Kim was waiting at the airlock. He was a man in his 40s with graying hair and tired eyes that had seen too much war. But he smiled when he saw Minji. "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant. We picked up some interesting transmissions while you were their guest. Fleet positions, command codes, encryption keys. Hope you enjoyed your intelligence-gathering mission." This was always the plan. Earth's command had not sent Haiyan to rescue her. They had sent him to give her time to complete reconnaissance. She was bait, but she was also the trap. The Indomitable's engines fired, and the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel. Behind them, Varric's escape pods drifted in space. Talrix was alive, but he had learned something important. Humans did not just think outside the box. They used the box as a weapon. On the bridge, Haiyan received an urgent message. His expression changed from satisfaction to concern. He looked at Minji and Gunho. "We have a problem. The Vrex have found Earth's location. Their main fleet will arrive in 72 hours. 47 warships." Junho went pale. Minji's face hardened. Haiyan allowed himself a grim smile. "Then we better get creative." Bastion 1 was Earth's largest orbital station, a massive ring of metal and weapons that protected humanity's home. The Indomitable docked in Emergency Base 7, and Minji stepped out to find the station on full alert. Soldiers ran through corridors. Weapons were being loaded. Ships were being repaired at impossible speed. She was escorted directly to the War Council. The room was circular with a massive holographic display showing Earth's solar system. Red markers indicated where the Vrex fleet would arrive. Blue markers showed human defenses. There were far more red than blue. Admiral Soman Choi stood at the center. She was 58 years old, with white hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had coordinated humanity's expansion to the stars. Now, she would coordinate their defense. General Daeho Kong was there too, a broad man who believed in strong fortifications. Next to him stood Dr. Narration, the chief science advisor, a woman who had designed half of humanity's space technology. Report, Admiral Choi said simply. Mingi and Junho presented everything they learned. The Varrick's fleet consisted of 47 warships, each capable of destroying a city. Their shields could withstand conventional weapons. Their doctrine relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. They had never fought a war of attrition. They had never faced guerrilla tactics. They were predictable. Our defense fleet has 18 capital ships, General Kang said. Most are old. Some barely function. By conventional standards, we should evacuate Earth and surrender. Then we won't fight conventionally, Admiral Choi said. She touched the holographic display, and new markers appeared. We'll turn the entire solar system into a trap. We'll make them afraid of everything. The debris, the asteroids, the silence. We'll make them question every sensor reading. The plan was called Kobayashi Protocol, named after an old training simulation where victory was impossible by normal means. The solution was to change the rules. They would deploy thousands of stealth mines disguised as space debris. They would retrofit old civilian ships to emit false sensor signatures, making the Vreks think humanity had a larger fleet. They would broadcast false communications to create confusion. They would set up kill zones where hidden platforms could ambush Vrek ships. We cannot match their firepower, Admiral Choi said. But we can make them paranoid. We can make them waste ammunition on ghosts. We can make them afraid to advance. Each person received assignments. Mingi would lead a boarding team. If Rek's ships got close enough, human commandos would infiltrate and sabotage from within. It was suicide work, but volunteers lined up immediately. JUNHO worked with Dr. Yoon to develop a biological weapon. They would create a compound that disrupted Vrek's neural implants. It would not kill, but it would cause hallucinations and communication failures. Chaos was as good as death in battle. Hyen received command of Ghost Squadron, 5 fast tack craft designed to harass the Vrek's fleet. The Indomitable would be flagship. Their job was simple: make the enemy angry. Make them make mistakes. For 72 hours, humanity worked without sleep. Factories on Luna manufactured mines around the clock. Veterans trained new volunteers in Vrek's combat techniques. Engineers modified ships with hidden weapons and false signatures. Earth's cities activated their defense grids. Preparing for the worst, Minji found quiet moments to record a message for her family and soul. She did not speak of fear. She told them she was proud to defend Earth. She told them humanity would survive. Because humans were too. Stubborn to die quietly. JUNHO visited the memorial. Wall where his family's names were carved alongside other victims of Rek's attacks. His parents and sister had died in the first raid on Mars. He touched their names and made a silent promise. This ends here. No more families destroyed. Hyen sat alone in his quarters, reading letters from families of crew members lost in previous battles. Each letter reminded him why he fought. Not for glory. Not for victory. But because no one should be left behind. With minutes remaining, the preparations finished. Every mine was in place. Every fake ship transmitted its false signal. Every weapon was loaded. Every soldier was ready. Admiral Choi addressed the entire defense force through ship-wide communications. Her voice was calm but firm. In moments, the Vreks will arrive expecting an easy conquest. They will find something else. A species that refuses to die quietly. We are not the strongest. We are not the most advanced. But we are the most stubborn, the most adaptable, and the most creative species in this galaxy. Show them what that means. Long-range sensors detected spatial distortions. The Vrik's fleet was dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 47 massive warships appeared, their weapons already charging. Their shields already raised, aboard the Vrek's flagship Inevitable Victory. Commander Talrix had been promoted despite losing his previous ship. The Vrek's council believed he had valuable experience fighting humans. He stood on the bridge, studying the tactical display. The humans are primitives, he told his fleet. They will attempt trickery, but our shields will hold. Our weapons will prevail. This system will fall within hours. Begin the assault. Sensors showed only a handful of human ships, exactly what intelligence predicted. What he did not see were the thousands of mines, the hidden platforms, or the humans waiting in the dark. The Vrex fleet advanced in perfect formation. Beautiful and terrible, like a storm of metal and fire. They approached the outer minefield with confidence. The first ships crossed the invisible boundary. Nothing happened. Talric smiled. The human mines were defective. Another sign of primitive technology? Then Admiral Choi gave one word. Activate. Thousands of dormant mines woke simultaneously, but they did not explode. Instead, they began transmitting false sensor data. They jammed communications. They projected holographic images of warships that did not exist. The Vrex fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by hundreds of apparent human vessels. Talrix's tactical display lit up with targets. Too many targets. Fire on the human fleet, he commanded. Vrex weapons discharged, destroying holographic projections. Missiles struck empty space. Energy beams vaporized mine casings that were already empty. The Vrex were wasting ammunition on ghosts, communication channels filled with confusing reports. Some claimed human ships were attacking from behind. Others reported Vrex vessels under fire. Still others broadcast surrender messages in Vrex language. None of it was real, but the Vrex could not tell what was true anymore. Talrix realized they had walked into a trap. His pride would not let him retreat, but doubt crept into his mind. How many of those ships were real? Where were the actual humans hiding? Push forward to Earth, he ordered. The humans are bluffing. This was exactly what Admiral Choi predicted. The Vrex were proceeding along the exact vector humanity wanted, straight into the kill boxes. On the indomitable, Hyen watched the Vrex fleet advance into the trap. He turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Youngji Shin, a young woman who had graduated top of her class in Gentru analysis. Ready, Ghost Squadron, Hyen said. Time to make them angry. 6 small human ships burst from hiding spots among asteroids. They were fast and maneuverable, dancing between Vrex vessels and firing at sensors, communication arrays, and cooling systems. They did not try to destroy Vrex ships. They just made them malfunction. Vrex commanders tried to target the small craft, but they were too fast. And every time a Vrex ship focused on Ghost Squadron, hidden human platforms fired from unexpected angles, death by 1,000 cuts. That was the human strategy. Not one devastating blow, but countless small wounds that added up to something fatal. The battle had begun. And the Vrex were already losing, even though none of their ships had been destroyed yet. They were losing because they were confused, angry, and afraid, and humans had barely started fighting. The battle raged for hours. Ghost Squadron harassed the Vrex fleet from every direction. Hyen's voice broadcast constant taunts in broken Vrex language, each insult carefully chosen to anger the proud commanders. It worked. Vrex ships broke formation to chase the small human craft, separating from the fleet's protection. When isolated Vrex vessels became vulnerable, Minji's boarding teams struck. Small human shuttles used the confusion to attach to enemy hulls like parasites. Cutting through the armor, teams of commandos infiltrated the ships. Mingi led the assault on a Vrex cruiser called Dominion's Fang. Her team moved through the corridors, spraying Junho's biological compound. The aerosol interfered with Vrex neural implants, causing the warriors to see things that were not there. They fired at shadows. They attacked their own comrades. They screamed in confusion. While the crew fought invisible enemies, Mingi reached the engineering section. She set the reactor to overload and escaped seconds before the cruiser tore itself apart. One Vrex capital ship destroyed. Back on Bastion 1, Dr. Yoon made a discovery. Analysis of captured Vrex equipment revealed their shields operated on a networked frequency. The ships shared power to reinforce weak points. It was elegant engineering, but it had a flaw. If one shield generator was overloaded with a specific harmonic frequency, The cascade could spread through the entire network. Like dominoes falling, one failure could trigger others. We need to concentrate all firepower on a single target, Dr. Yoon explained to Admiral Choi. If we can collapse one shield with the right frequency, others will follow. How many ships will we lose getting close enough? The Admiral asked. At least half our fleet. Maybe all of it. Admiral Choi did not hesitate. Do it. All ships. Concentrate fire on the battleship Eternal Conquest. Use harmonic frequency Delta 7. Every human vessel turn toward one target. For 30 seconds, every weapon, every missile, every ounce of firepower humanity had remaining poured into the Eternal Conquest. Vrek's return fire was devastating. Human ships exploded. Shields failed. Hulls breached, but they kept firing. The human fleet was willing to die if it meant the strategy worked. That was another thing the Vreks did not understand. Humans knew when to sacrifice. The Eternal Conquest's shields flickered. They held. They flickered again. Then, they collapsed completely. The overload cascaded exactly as predicted. 12 nearby Vrek ships lost shield integrity within seconds. Their networked defense had become their weakness. Human railguns and missiles that had been useless against shields now tore through unprotected Vrek's hulls. Explosions lit the darkness as 4 capital ships died. Then 6. Then 9. Talrix watched his fleet crumble. The mighty Vrek's empire, conqueror of 100 worlds, was being destroyed by primitives who refused to fight fair. For the first time in his life, he felt something commanders were not supposed to feel. Doubt. He made a desperate decision. If he could not win the battle, he would still complete his mission. He detached his flagship from the fleet and set course directly for Earth. If the Vreks could not conquer the human homeworld, they would destroy it. High-end sensors detected the flagship breaking formation. He understood immediately. Talrix was going to crash into Earth. The inevitable victory was massive enough that the impact would kill billions. The Indomitable was too small to stop a dreadnought. But Hyen had an idea. He opened a channel and broadcast in Vrek's language. Commander Talrix, you claimed humans were inferior. Prove it. Single combat. Your ship against mine? Or are you afraid? Vrek's culture valued honor above all. A direct challenge could not be ignored. Talrix diverted from Earth and engaged the Indomitable. It was a mismatch. A frigate against a dreadnought. Hyen's ship took hit after hit. Shields failed. Hull breached. Fire spread through 3 decks. But Hyen was not trying to win through combat. He was buying time. Minji's team, still aboard their captured Vrek shuttle, approached the inevitable victory unseen. While Talrix focused on destroying the Indomitable, humans infiltrated his flagship. They fought through corridors toward the bridge. Junho was with them, no longer pretending to be weak. He used his knowledge of Vrek's biology to guide their strikes. Every guard they encountered fell quickly. They reached the bridge to find Talrix waiting. He had known they were coming. He had allowed it. He wanted to face Minji one final time. The Vrek's commander dismissed his guards. This would be personal combat, the highest honor in Vrek's culture. Recognition of a worthy opponent, they fought across the bridge. Talrix used his strength and reach, for arms against Minji's too. She used speed and technique, targeting weak points, using his momentum against him. The battle showcased everything that made their species different. Talrix fought to prove superiority. Minji fought to survive. He asked what makes humans dangerous, Minji said between strikes. It's not strength. It's that we don't know when to quit. She used the damaged bridge environment against him. Sparking consoles became weapons. Exposed wiring became traps. Zero-gravity shifts became opportunities. Everything the Vreks ignored, humans exploited. JUNHO helped remotely, sabotaging bridge systems to create distractions. Lights failed at critical moments. Gravity shifted unexpectedly. Talrix fought blind and confused, while Minji adapted instantly. Finally, she saw her opening. Talrix overextended, confident in his armor's protection. Minji struck the neural cluster behind his third shoulder, the exact spot Junho had identified weeks ago. The commander's left side went numb. His legs collapsed. Talrix fell, defeated not by superior strength, but by superior knowledge. Humans had studied their enemy. The Vrex had assumed study was unnecessary. With their commander down, the remaining Vrex fleet retreated. They fled not just because they were losing, but because they were terrified. They had come to conquer primitives and found something far more dangerous. A species that turned every disadvantage into a weapon, that refused to accept defeat, that would do absolutely anything to win. Admiral Choi allowed them to escape, not from mercy, but strategy. She wanted them to spread word throughout the galaxy. Don't mess with humanity, Earth celebrated, but the victory cost dearly. 17 of 18 human capital ships were destroyed or crippled. Thousands died defending their homeworld. But they had won. Against impossible odds, humanity survived. Mingy returned to Bastion 1 as a hero. She did not feel like one. She thought of all the people who did not make it back. Every celebration felt hollow knowing their sacrifice. JUNHO was offered leadership of Earth's Xenobiology Warfare Division. He accepted, knowing the Vrex would return eventually. Next time, humanity would be even more prepared. Hyon's Indomitable was too damaged to repair. The old frigate had given everything in Earth's defense. But Hyen did not seem sad. He was already planning his next command. Already thinking about new ways to surprise humanity's enemies. Admiral Choi broadcast a message to all known alien civilizations using captured Vrex communication networks. Her words were simple, but clear. This is Admiral Salman Choi of Earth's Defense Forces. Today, the Vrex Empire learned what happens when you underestimate humanity. We are not the strongest species. We are not the most advanced. But we are creative. We are stubborn. And we will never surrender. To those who would be our friends, welcome. To those who would be our enemies, you have been warned. The message spread across the galaxy. Humanity's reputation transformed overnight. No longer prey, now predator. 6 months later, Mingy stood on the rebuilt observation deck of Horizon's Edge. The station had been converted into a training facility where human soldiers taught alien allies humanity's unconventional warfare techniques. Species from across the galaxy wanted to learn how the primitives defeated the mighty VRX.JUNHO worked in a nearby lab, developing defenses against other potential threats. His research had saved Earth once. He would make sure it stayed saved. Hyen commanded a new ship, Indomitable II, leading humanity's first deep space exploration fleet. Earth was no longer hiding. They were exploring, making allies, ensuring no one ever threatened their home again. Mingy received a coded transmission. It came from Talrix, who had survived their final battle. He had become an informant, feeding information about Vrex politics to Earth. His message was brief. The Vrex Council debates whether to seek peace or prepare revenge. I have argued for peace. Not because I fear you, but because I respect you. Perhaps one day our species can meet as equals, not enemies. Mingy deleted the message without responding. Not yet. Humanity had not forgotten what the Vrex did. But maybe, someday, forgiveness was possible. For now, Earth stood ready. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate a human with their hands raised. That's not surrender. That's targeting acquisition.